So
What is this?
it's always there.
Oh, Patti LaBelle. I'm like, this ain't intentional by Travis Gray.
Featuring TD Jakes.
And we are live on YouTube as we speak, and that looks perfect.
Okay, all right, I got it. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
And what? Now, who is this?
This is Instagram.
So Instagram, I thought you could only do 60-second videos.
Oh, you think you're still in college?
Yeah. You probably got to turn this one landscape lines too.
No, that one. Don't.
We ain't gonna worry about Instagram that much. We just,
All right.
yeah, you fine. We only really care about YouTube, Facebook.
Okay. That is crazy. I don't think I ever messed with was Facebook.
Is it 8?
It is 8.
Start those lives.
Gotcha.
Start here.
Okay. You are now live on Instagram. Starting live video.
Welcome to Unapologetic Sir Goodman Live series. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your support. We give you a little ranting while we wait for people to come in. That's Patti LaBelle playing in the background, always there, featuring TD Jakes. But thank you all for watching the Unapologetic Live. We have Unapologetic on Friday nights. That's at 9 o'clock with the Fab Five. We on your Fridays. Wednesday, we have Unapologetic 2.0 with TJ and Deshawn. They give us current events. And tonight we debut Unapologetic, the series with Sir Goodwin Live. And I'm very excited about today's show because this is the foundation of Sir Goodwin Live. We all are friends and been friends for a long time, but Sir Goodwin Live is something that I have to show for the people. And today we will be joined by someone who is, he may not know this, but is somebody that I've always looked up to and has always been a good person, smiles and thinks positive during the worst of situations and in the heat of battle and competition. I've always known him to praise the Lord. And today I introduce to you a real pastor, Pastor Robert Evans, my friend. How are you, sir?
What's up, man? Good to see you. Good evening, everybody.
Thank you for inviting us into your home here on the south side of Chicago. I've been trying to chase you down for a long time, and we're here. And he has his Pepsi live. Let's cheers to the Pepsi. We should be drinking them, but well, let's send those sponsors all over.
Let's make sure Pepsi logo shows.
Yes, give us that sponsorship. Pastor Evans is the pastor of Church on the Block. That's 500 North Laramie on the west side of Chicago. So whenever you feel like praising and looking for a church home, that's the place to be on Sundays. We're listening to his favorite song right now, which is Travis Gray, Be Intentional.
Intentional.
Yeah, so I met you a long time ago. That was in 2001. We both attended Northern Illinois University in DeKalb. And you've been the same person forever. Just always positive, always smiling.
Thank you.
He invited me one time to sing background. He did a performance. What was that for?
The Deltas was doing their pageant. Okay. Mr. Crimson and Cream, that's what it was. Okay. Mr. Crimson and Cream.
And I don't consider myself a singer at all, but I was invited to sing background on a song by somebody. I don't know if we're gonna say the name today, but the name of the song was "Step in the Name of Love," and I had fun doing that.
Yeah,
That
it was
fun.
a good time.
Singing with some real singers. He's a real singer, and Shantae is a real singer and a real vocalist. So that was fun, and we've always stayed in contact through softball mainly. Back in our DeKalb days with the Park District and intramural sports, and even here to this day at 35 ish, we still get out there and win some ball games.
Yeah, with inflamed Achilles and
Yeah.
aching knees and everything.
Yeah.
You still get out there.
Yeah, if he hits the ball far enough, he can get around. He can get around the bases. We got to get some footage of
Yeah.
It's actually very funny. We had lunch one time over the years just to catch up, and you also officiated my parents' 25th anniversary. So I'm giving you a little history that this is not fake. This is real friendship, and this is a real servant of the Lord over here, and I'm trying to be like him when I grow up. So,
Man,
where did you go to high school?
Went to Morgan Park, Mustang, Southside
You
Chicago.
graduated from Morgan Park?
Yes, sir.
I thought you went to a Catholic school for some reason.
No, I went to grew up in Inglewood. I went to D.S. Wentworth in Inglewood. Then for 7th and 8th grade, I went to St. Benedict, the Catholic school, for 7th and 8th grade. Then I went to Morgan Park and ended up at 8A.
Okay. I didn't know that. So you class of 2001 and Morgan Park, so we're getting the people right behind you.
Yeah.
I did not know that. You learn something new every
But
day.
that's how I knew Greg now. I knew Greg now, not from NIU.
I did not know that.
From,
Shout out to Greg Henderson.
In my chubbier days.
Growing up, how was life growing up, parents wise? Did you have both parents?
Sure. Grew up in Inglewood, South Side Chicago. I grew up in a house with about 12, maybe 15 of us in the house, and we were a family. We had love, and me, my mother, and my youngest brother, we shared a room and a bed until my mother was able to get her own place. So I always had my mom, and I had a great relationship with my father. Even though my father didn't live with us, I still had a great relationship with him, and I didn't miss out. I would go to his house on weekends. We would talk on the phone and stuff like that. So I've been blessed to grow up with both parents, and I tell my parents all the time that they could write a book on how to co-parent. Because I really believe, I'm not tooting my own horn or nothing like that, but I really believe they did a fantastic job, along with my stepmom, God rest her soul.
It's funny you say co-parent. I cannot stand the term. I think that it's embraced, but I think that in your situation it's different because once things are not going to work out and you co-parent, that's fine. But I think that nowadays people go into having a child with the intent on co-parenting, and I definitely don't. What's your take on that?
Absolutely. If it don't work out between the mother and father, it just doesn't work out. I just don't like to see kids pulled into adult mess. That's something that, as adults, and especially Black community, we can't do. I do believe that your child should have a great relationship with their mother and their father. So if your child wants to spend time with their mom or their father who's not living with them, I think that time should be allowed. However, if there is a situation where there's not security, people are not safe, that's something totally different. But if you got a man that's trying or a mom that's trying, they want to do right, they want to be in their child life, I definitely believe that should be something that can be worked out.
Okay, great. You grew up in the church?
Yes.
What church? Where?
I grew up at the Fellowship Missionary Baptist Church, 45th and Princeton, under Reverend Clay Evans. And then eventually Pastor Charles Jenkins took over in 2000. And I was there until I went over to Park Community Church, where is a multicultural church where I served as a pastor or intern. Then after that, I went over to Christ Bible Church under Pastor James Ford, where I was the youth pastor. And lo and behold, now I'm the pastor of Church on the Block on the west side of Chicago.
Right. I've been. That's good.
Y'all gotta come holler at us.
Yeah, I've been. Definitely come over to Church on the Block, 500 North Laramie. What time does your service start? Sunday school, all that good stuff.
10 a.m. So my service is designed with family in mind. What I mean by that is, I think time is over for us being in church all day. So you come to our service, it's a very relaxed atmosphere. We have a cafe attached to our sanctuary, so you can have your coffee, your juice, your donuts, whatever, and you could be in church with that. And then we start service at 10 o'clock, and we're roughly done by like 11:15, 11:30. And that's by intention, because I believe with parents working and everything like that, you don't get a lot of time to spend with your family. So I believe Sunday is family time. So right after service, go be with your family. You know, go do brunch. Go enjoy your day.
Speaking of family, tell us about your immediate family.
Yes. I've been married to a beautiful woman, Cassie. We've been together. We've dated 2 years prior, so we've been together about 9 years, and we've been married going on 7 years in August. We've been blessed with 3 beautiful children. You already know they the joys of my life. We got Zoe, who's 4. We got Robert Jr., who's 2, and then we have little Ryan Michael, who's be 6 months this Friday.
All
6
right.
months this Friday.
All
So,
right.
yeah.
Congratulations on
Thank
all
you.
that beautiful family. And Cassie is a great lady out
Yeah,
there.
she is.
And
Hey, boo. Hey, man.
if you're watching, how you doing, Cassie? You somewhere around. I don't know where you are.
She's so good.
When I knew you back in the day, in our U days, and just to show the people that you're human and things happen, what you are divorced once.
Right.
And I don't know, I can't remember her name. We don't need to say her name. You show no love, you get no love. And in the Bible, let me say this also. I'm not a big Bible reader.
Sure.
You know, I know things and I try to live my life accordingly, but that's why you're here. So that you can talk about those things and reference it to certain chapters in the Bible. So you went through a divorce. You don't have to say what happened. You can just get the gist of it related to the Bible in some way.
Sure. So yeah, I was married. I think me and a young lady dated like 6 months, and then we got married. It was
How
something,
old were you?
24.
Okay.
I was 24 years old, and it was something that probably should never happen. There was there were so many signs of me not doing it. Even like from like my mom, my pops, even my pops tried to talk me out of it. But I was like, oh no, I love her. I want to be with her. You know, just being young and dumb, if you call it. Ended up getting married, and it just didn't work out. And we end up like getting a divorce and everything like that. And it was a real tough period for me because I have grown up in the church. I have all these people watching me, and I was like, man, I can't even like make my marriage work. And by the grace of God, He allowed me to go through that, and I don't look like what I've been through. I learned some lessons in there. I learned who Robert was, and I became a stronger man. And even going back to, like you said, with the Bible, and this is where I struggled with, because of the Timothy text talks about that pastors should be husband of one wife and everything like that. And so I've had religious people in the church tell me, well, you can never pastor because you've been divorced. You can never do this because you've been divorced. And then I was confused by that. I was like, well, how can you say I can't pastor because I've been divorced, but you committed adultery back in the day, but now since you done got your life right, oh, I don't do, no, wait, how? And then even if you read the Timothy text, it also talks about that you should be able to rule your house well, and your children should follow orders. So if we go talk about the divorce, let's talk about the fact that you got people in leadership in the church and our pastors who children don't come to church, who children are disrespectful, who children don't follow the rules, but yet they get to stand in the pulpit and be pastors. However, someone like me who got a divorce and everything like that, you trying to tell me no. On a deep study on that, and this is where I know a lot of my pastor friends may disagree a little bit, but when I look at that text, I think of more of in terms of polygamy. The idea of having more than one wife at one time. It doesn't work because the same God that called me before the first marriage and before the divorce is the same God that called me after the divorce.
And we're human. At the end of the day, we're human. And what you said was important because I get another reason for doing this is the people, they like to say that Christians are judgmental and Christians are this and Christians are that, which everyone can be, especially some of those, those Christians that you referred to that tried to criticize you. But that is not who all Christians are.
Right, exactly.
And you can't just generalize religion on just people being judgmental and you not wanting to be judged. Now me, I've never had that problem. You can judge me all you want. We go keep this Christian and I don't care.
Right.
So for those of you all who don't know, Pastor Evans is a mentor to the youth, and we relate in that aspect. And he is also an 8th grade teacher. Why don't you tell us about your passion for the youth?
Oh man, I have a heart for young people, and I've just been blessed to be teaching for about 3 years now, 8th grade. The youth are not the generation of tomorrow; they're the generation of now, and they have a lot of questions. They need a lot of guidance, and they need a lot of, most importantly, love. I grew up in a very traditional church where, we were loved. It was loving as a family, but like, I remember we wanted to sing a Kirk Franklin song for youth choir, and the song said a line like, "My 3-month-old baby needs some shoes." Down by the riverside, that was the name of it. And we were told, no, we can't sing that song because it talks about a baby. I'm like, this song. But anyway, and we were like, they let us do stuff, but it was always going to try this with a little bit of that. And I watched as a lot of young people who didn't have leadership from like people in the home and everything like that. And it's something that's been in me to like just mentor young people and just make sure that they get the love and attention that they desire. Yeah, that's the song right there. That's the song right there. Yeah, just making sure that they get what they need. And
So another thing that I get from people is I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. Okay? And I give them the Sir Goodwood Live version, but that's to begin this aspect of the show. I want you to explain the difference between being spiritual and being religious.
Yeah, so let me just say everything that I'm discussing with you all today is Robertology. It's what I believe, and take it with a grain of salt. And you gotta work with your own convictions and what you believe. But when it comes to this whole idea of being spiritual versus religious, I believe it's a cop-out. I believe people say that to kind of like neutralize conversation about religion, neutralize conversation about spirituality, the whole 9 yards. Because when I hear spirituality, I hear somebody that might be more of a free spirit, somebody who believes in like more of like the spirit of the universe and they flow and everything like that. And religion to me speaks more so we think about the rules and the regulations that exist. Personally, I don't consider myself, I don't like to say I'm spiritual. I don't like to say I'm religious. I like to say I have a relationship. Because at the end of the day, I know who God is. I know who Jesus is. He's Lord of my life and everything like that. So if I do mess up and I don't follow your religious rules, guess what? My relationship is still there. My relationship will always be there. The only way that relationship will end is if I would have to walk away. And once we get that in our relationship, it's about building that bond with God, having that conversations with Him through prayer, and just spending time with Him. That's what it really is about. Because you can be super spiritual, but guess what? Demons recognize spirits.
Yeah.
So you can say you're spiritual, and right? They spirits, exactly, right? And even if you are like, I'm spiritual, well, so are demons. So like, I need you to say like, what you gonna do. Are we getting comments? Lord Jesus.
I got comments, but no reason.
They have some comments. So
yeah.
But one, no, we definitely want. Definitely want to read comments.
Okay, so you probably just read the last one.
Yes.
Hooli. I'm gonna just read it to everybody. Ask Rob if Jesus on the main line. Who the hell on hold? Because it's the bill collector when I click over.
Listen, that song Jesus on the main line, tell him what you want. You call him up and tell him what you want. That song is not literally talking about a phone line. It's literally talking about God is available to hear your prayers. And what we got to recognize is this is something that a lot of people get touchy about. We say God don't answer prayer when he don't do what we yes. Or I can say no.
That's right.
And guess what? At the end of the day, it's still an answer. They may not like the answer. They may not feel the answer. They may not want to listen to it. But guess what? At the end of the day, I'm still your father. I still love you. And I know what's best for you.
Now, for me, religion brings discipline. And you hinted to that in what you were saying, that you don't like to say that you're spiritual or religious. But I like to tell people that, you can be spiritual, you can believe whatever you want or not believe. But the Christian as a religion is the discipline that ultimately promotes love. Everything in the Bible and everything about Christianity is positive and about love. So that's my interpretation of religion when it comes to Christianity.
Absolutely. And we focus more so on the no's or the religious rules versus the love of God, which is something that definitely has to change. As a matter of fact, it is starting to change in churches.
So in saying that stuff, Rob, but I think Jesus needs an iPhone because I'd rather FaceTime.
Well, guess what? Just like thinking of that, Jesus, yes, he does have FaceTime because guess what? We are all representatives of Christ.
That's right.
And if we have a relationship with God, he's on the inside of us. So even when you see us, you can see him.
Yeah.
Tony Finn, your old college friend,
Jesus.
Tony Finn, tell Goodwin he should baptize right now on the show. He can scream unapologetic as he comes back from under the water.
Twan, thank you for your comments and thank you for watching.
Twan is still crazy.
He always gonna be crazy. So right now, and some of our viewers who are watching, some of the people who I've had this conversation with, they kind of denounce Christianity. They denounce Jesus. Some of them don't even really talk about being spiritual. What do you say to those people who some of them grew up in the church?
Yeah.
Some of them, we're going to get to marriage, so don't comment on marriage.
Okay.
They are married. Some of the youth who are around and see and hear things with social media being as big as it is, the impact that people can have with saying, "Oh, I don't believe in Jesus. I'm religious." What do you say for those type of people?
That is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
We're finding out that people they'll believe in God, but they reject Jesus. They know there's a God. They know that the universe got here somehow. They believe somebody's behind the scene, but they reject the idea of Jesus. And I really see that happening more so in the United States than other parts of the country, of the world rather, because Christianity is still rising everywhere else. It's just decreasing in the United States. And unfortunately, among black folks, black people, is because of our association with our country, because of the hardships that facing 400 years of slavery and everything like that. We can't forget that type of stuff. So unfortunately, what we've done is anything that was associated with that pain, we're slowly starting to throw it to the side. And unfortunately, that's starting to happen when it comes to Christ Jesus. And also not just what our experience here in our country, but also because we haven't seen great examples at home.
Come on.
We haven't seen great examples at home. I talk to young people all the time, and they get confused because mama in church on Sunday, daddy in church on Sunday, lifting their hands, crying, shouting, and speaking in unknown tongues. But yet when they get home, they cussing them out, calling them all type of MFs, as you dirty dog, you ain't gonna do nothing like that. So I'm confused. I don't want no part of that. If that is how that Jesus makes you act, I don't want no part of it. So I believe that God is calling a generation of people to stand up and be true examples. And if you go believe this thing, believe it all the way. If you jump in both feet and really try to live this thing and be an example, because people are watching. And another thing so I believe that people are rejecting Christ because of our relationship in this country. I believe people are rejecting Christ because they haven't seen great examples at home. But the third thing is, I believe nobody wanted to answer their questions. And I watched that growing up in church. It's like, well, you don't question God. You don't do this. You just follow it. No, you should question God, because even with the whole idea of Jesus, when he was on the cross, he said, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? That sounds like a question to me. And the one that I understand that there's nothing wrong with questioning answers and knowledge and understanding, because you should want to know what you believe. If you're going to commit your soul to something, you should ask questions, and you should just try to seek deeper understanding. And I believe that as we slowly try to tackle those three issues, I can see people are starting to really be more open to the concept of Jesus and be more open to turning back to the church.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. And I want to say this. I am a cancer. I am. The older I get, the more emotional I get. And listening to you, I am fighting. I am fighting these tears. We have comments.
Okay, so Tony Finn said
Jesus.
No, he actually is okay. Christianity is not reality. That's what he said.
Christianity is not.
It is not reality.
Okay.
Your wife is watching now.
Okay, hey baby. So with the whole idea, Christianity is not reality.
And Antonio Reed tell Goodwin to name drop the godless heathens if he's really unapologetic.
Maybe I think you're one of them, but I don't. We don't need to say their names. If they watch and come back and watch, and make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel Unapologetic Live. This video will be up permanently. This is the foundation of Sir Goodwin Live, and we have more to come.
Yeah.
You were going to ask the question. Answer the question. Christianity is not reality.
Christianity is not reality. What I've found out is a lot of people that make those type of statements, and I'm not talking about Antoine. I'm not talking about Antoine. Not at all. I'm just saying what my experience has been. A lot of people feel that way when something tragic or something serious has happened in their life, and because God didn't respond the way they wanted to them, they say this must not be real. This can't be real. You're supposed to be this good God and everything like that. And I get this one all the time. Like, if God's so good, why is evil on the earth? Which is a relevant question. But once you understand free will, once you understand as long as sin is on the earth, you're going to have bad things happen. And I think it's interesting that people say that, it's not real when things happen. But what I found remarkable is when all of the good stuff happened, God was real. God was real when he protected you from that gunshot. God was real with you when you was struggling to study in class. But the moment something bad happens, you want to say God must not be real.
Come on.
No, because the same God that kept you through the good times is the same God that keeps you through the tough times. And that is how your faith grows. That is how your relationship grows. Think
faith.
Yes. That's how your faith grows.
That.
Yeah.
People don't understand what faith is. And, faith is for something that you don't have to necessarily see or be able to touch.
Yeah.
Can you explain faith in your words?
Sure. Faith basically is, in the short term, believing without seeing. Where you just believe that God is real, that he exists, even though you can't physically see him. However, you may not be able to physically see him, but you can still physically see the residue of who he is. Because he was creator. He created the earth. You see those things. He created us. See those things. And faith tells me that even though things may not be great, I just got to believe that things will work out and things will get better. Because if truth be told, we've actually had more good times than bad times, but we focus on negative, but that's another day for another time. But faith is essential. Faith is essential. It is key. We got faith when we want to have faith. Prime example, you walked in faith and didn't even realize it. You walked in faith that chair was going to hold you. We all did.
I'm a skinny guy.
Right. But we walk in faith all the time. So if we walk in faith at the time, we are faith. Being in a relationship with God, because of the faith I had in him, I'm able to experience certain things that in my life that I know without the shadow of a doubt, nobody but God. Because my experience tells me otherwise, even in those moments when my faith do lack.
we have some. We're busy in the comments.
Oh, Jesus.
Joe Mitchell is saying, "What's the value of your theological education?"
Oh, yes. What up, Joe? Blue Five. So I went to Trinity Evangelical Divinity School. Got to do a master's, and I went to school because I really wanted to get an in-depth study on what this stuff was.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to school. I sat on under some great people to get knowledge, so I can now even in theology courses, my faith was challenged.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I was like, wait, you know, and I'm trying to put stuff together, but I believe that I had to go to school so I could be a better person. Because think about it, you want to let a surgeon work on you if he hasn't been to school.
That's true.
So I definitely value, like, you need to have a great education when it comes to this whole pastoring. Even if it's just a few classes or something, you need something.
Okay. Alexis, go.
I think he actually spoke on this, but I'm gonna read it again.
Okay.
In Christ, because there are a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah.
They want proof when you're told to walk by faith, and the reward will be everlasting life after death.
Yeah.
That was her message.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's nothing wrong with questioning. I mean, I'm a pastor. I'm like, God, I don't get this. I don't. I'm like, but you know, you're sovereign.
Keep it real with us, man.
You got a plan that I don't see. But God, let me be honest with you. I'm angry right now. I don't mention about Travis Green. That's based upon one of my favorite scriptures, Romans 8:28, which says, and we know that all things work together for the good of them that love God and those that are called according to his purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So because I have a relationship with God and I know I'm called to his purpose, I know that behind the scenes he's working. I may not understand it. I may not get it. I may not be able to comprehend it. As a matter of fact, I'm not him, so I don't know what he's thinking half of the time. But I'm just going to believe that ultimately, eventually things will come around and he'll prove what his will is later. And I'll say this one more thing. As the old folks say, you'll understand it better by and by. You don't get it right now, but you understand it later.
You definitely will get that wisdom. Marriage. I know I made a comment on Unapologetic Friday nights at 9 p.m. with the Fab Five. Make sure you all tune in. That I'm not going to go to weddings anymore unless both people believe in Jesus. I will go to your reception, but I don't need to be at your wedding if you don't believe in Jesus. So, what, in my opinion, marriage is based on Christianity and Jesus. And I know people who get married with the pastor, they don't believe, or they eventually don't believe. Talk to us about Christianity and marriage.
Before you go deep into that, Antonio Reed said, yeah, what did the girls look like in church school? And were there any Jezebels or hat lots in said class? If so, when is open enrollment?
Oh.
So when is your open enrollment in your class? Sunday school.
Well,
wow.
Well, he put a laughing emoji after that, so I think that he already has the answer to those questions. Oh, they're all none, Thule. They're all none.
Well, I met my wife I met her in high school, but we rekindled in church, so I mean. All right, so going back to your question about the whole marriage thing. I do believe that Christianity should be the foundation of your marriage. Anytime I marry anybody, I typically ask those type of questions because I want to know, you have to be comfortable because I'm a Christian pastor and I'm going to marry you in Jesus' name. If you're not comfortable with that, then unfortunately I can't marry you. That is just real simple. Yeah, unfortunately I can't marry you if you don't believe that, because at the end of the day, there are more than one ways to get married. There are more than one option. You know, you want to have a wedding at our church, okay, here's what we believe. Here, you know, you want me to officiate, here's what we believe. And if you don't want to agree with that, okay, well this isn't the I'm not the pastor to marry you, and this is not what you do.
So what about the people, they get married, you know, they placing their hand on the Bible and they saying all the vows that are, you know, Christian vows, but they don't believe it and they don't have any intention on working towards that. And marriage is work. What do you say to those people? Why are you getting married then?
Sure. I don't, people get married for all types of reasons. But so there's an idea in theology known as Calvinism, which says this: you, you, your relationship with God is not authentic, it's not true if you walk away from it. So, which means you never had a true relationship with God in the first place. As a pastor, my job is not to judge or anything like that. So if you say you believe in Jesus, you're a Christian, okay, I'm going to go with that and I'm going to marry you. But if you end up walking away from it, that's between you and God. And that lets you know you never had a true relationship in the first place. And I do believe as pastors, we still take kind of like some of that burden on us. So that means that I have to ask deeper questions. I have to get better knowledge and understanding of any marriage or any couple that I do plan on marrying. And if you do walk away from God, that Calvinism theology teaches that means you just didn't have an authentic relationship in the first place anyway, and you were just doing it just to be doing it.
Okay. Also, what do you feel about, we don't have to stay here long, homosexuals getting married? What's your take on that?
Sure. I believe because of our country, everybody has the right to be married. Everybody has the right to get those rules or get what's the word I'm looking for? Get those benefits. Because of this discrimination that was happening in systematic racism, they were discriminating against homosexual couples. So unfortunately, they bargain so that they can get married, so that they can have those same rights. I believe in our country that you should have the right to, land of the free, home of the brave. You should have the right to love whoever you want, be whatever you want, and you should be able to get those benefits that come with being an American citizen. But when it comes to me, I do believe that marriage is between, I will marry you because, especially with my denominational beliefs, that if it's a man and a woman, I'll marry you. If you begin, there are so many other avenues in which you can get married, and I do believe that everybody has a right to, in this country, to do what makes them happy.
I agree. Definitely, church and state. There's a difference. Jamal brought that up on one of the shows, and that's important. You can do what you want. We're all humans. In the beginning, and love is love. I definitely agree with that. But there's definitely a difference in church and state. So, we got to go back. We got to go back to Genesis. They say, how do you know God created and how did He rise from the dead, and who wrote the Bible, and how do we know that Jesus walked the earth? What are your thoughts on? Give us the background on that. Who wrote the Bible?
Let's start with who wrote the Bible? I believe that Bible obviously was written by man, by humans, through God inspiration, through God intervention. I do believe that God spoke to people and they began to write and they began to scribe, because going back to the Old Testament time, they didn't have the written word like we have now. So they went by the word of the prophet. So the prophet would come and give the word of God, and then somebody would eventually scribe, and then we would have the books that have now. I mean, yes, God can supernaturally put the words on paper so we can have it, but I believe when God wants to do a work, He uses mankind to do that work. He used humans, man and women, to get the job done, so you can see His work being done through human beings.
Okay. How do we know that Jesus walked the earth?
Sure. History records Jesus actually walked the earth, that Jesus was a human being. His name was Yeshua, and actually Yeshua was actually a common name, because Jaden introduced into the English language just years later after Jesus lived. His name would be pronounced Yeshua. It's where we get the word Joshua and all this other type of stuff from. And it was actually a common name. It was a common name. A lot of people were named that during that time. But going back, he actually lived. He was actually crucified. But here's what the trick is. And this is what sets Christianity apart from all the other Abrahamic religions. We believe he was raised from the dead. We believe he's the son of God. But even like all of the other the Abrahamic beliefs talk about, even the Muslims. Surah 19 records, and this is what's crazy, a lot of people don't know it. Surah 19 states that Mary was a virgin, and the Gabriel angel came to her and said, "You're going to birth the child." and you're going to call him Jesus. You know, you're going to call him Yeshua. So, and she said the same thing in the Bible. Well, how can this be so? I'm a virgin. I haven't been touched. And then the angel said God is going to get it done. And lo and behold, even Surah 19, I think it's Surah 19 through 21, it actually records, you know, the birth of Jesus Christ actually taking place. So I believe Jesus was a real being. He lived the earth. He walked the earth. But as I believe that he was risen from the dead.
Let's we have quite a few comments that I want to pass at least to hear while we're on this feed here.
Okay. Kiki Jones said, good answer. You had a lot of good answers about the whole same-sex marriage. She said she's been married for a long time. She's been married for 6 years, and God is the head of her household,
Amen.
life and marriage. I'm gonna. Yeah, talk about. Okay, Alexis Cherie said, let's talk about the lost books of the original Bible.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the whole idea that that they actually took parts of the Bible out to kind of like help enslave Africans that could be out there. And I do believe that there are lost books of the Bible and that do exist. But also I believe that this is what we have now. We work with what we have. And I do believe in getting outside, you know, seeking knowledge and authenticity. Okay, let's go back to the canonization of scriptures. This was a time when the fathers of the faith, they came together and they were trying to figure out or put together through inspiration of God what would be relevant to the time. So they put together the scriptures based upon that. And as believers, as Christians, we believe that we have the Bible. However, there were some things that were not added, or better yet, the lost books, rather, like the lost books. And they were not added to the canonization because they couldn't authenticate, if that's the word. Is that a word? Authenticate?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they could authenticate them. Prove that they were authentic.
Okay.
I'm not messing with lead answer at all.
What happened?
Read what he said.
Okay. Antonio Reed said that we found out if we found out Mary was messing around.
Legit question.
In my words.
In your words.
Yeah.
You're cleaning it up.
A little bit.
Okay.
This is a rated PG.
With that change, the whole authentic, of the scripture, I think what would change it if she wasn't a virgin. If she wasn't a virgin, because Jesus still was born, Jesus still walked, and Jesus still did stuff. So if it was proven that she wasn't a virgin, then that's when I think the story would change.
Why did Jesus have to come to earth, and why did he have to die for our sins?
Yes. All right. So being Christians, we believe the Bible, we believe in the Torah, we believe in the Pentateuch, all this other stuff that's associated with the Bible, first 5 books. And during that time, because of man had sinned, we've done wrong, and we were separated from God. God had created man. It was like, hey, of course I'm paraphrasing y'all. He created man. He was like, hey, I'm going to put you in this garden. You got everything you need. I just got one thing. Don't touch that tree over there. We good, player. And then ultimately Satan came and tempted man and woman. And then that's when sin entered the earth because of their disobedience. And
why this specific tree that he didn't? It was forbidden. Why?
That's a great question. I wish I knew.
Okay.
But the scripture says because of the knowledge of good and evil, and I believe God was just trying to protect them from being exposed to certain things. That's why when Satan did come, he said, God doesn't want you to have that because your eyes will be open and you'll be exposed to everything and you'll be like him. And that's why I believe he probably
But sometimes being exposed to too much, especially too early, is not a good thing.
Yeah. Like prime example, I love my kids, but I'm not gonna give Zoe my keys to my car.
Right.
No!
I know my cousin, he was 9 years old. He was supposed to go down to the car to grab something, and he ended up next to the car, hitting the neighbor's car and all that. So I definitely understand. I definitely understand
No, sir.
where you are coming from. Why did he have to die for our sins?
Yes. All right. So because of sin, because man messed up, we were separated from God. And God wanted that relationship back. So in the Old Testament, he established sacrifice, which says because of sin, something has to die in the place of sin. So it got to the point where it was sacrifice after sacrifice after sacrifice, and God was like, it wasn't enough. It wasn't the ultimate sacrifice that would take away the sins of the world, because you had to wait an entire year for your sins to be forgiven. And God wanted a relationship with us so much so that he sent Jesus to die on the cross for us, which was the perfect sacrifice. So therefore, we no longer have to go sacrifice animals. You no longer have to get to the priest and say, hey, I did this, I did that, I did that. And the priest, who's sinful themselves, can't go sacrifice for you, because Jesus was the perfect sacrifice. He was without sin, and he gave his life for us. That's why God had to send him down here to die on the cross, so that we can have that relationship back, that right relationship back with God.
Okay, and I lost my train of thought. The guys, what did I say here? Dying. When he died,
Yeah.
you know, I think the Jehovah say that he didn't rise from the dead. We say he rose from the dead after 3 days. Do you? Well, of course, you believe that. Why did that? When people question that, what is your answer to the people who question him rising from the dead?
Sure. It's an authentic question. It's a true question. And this is where the whole faith comes to aspect. That I believe that he died on the cross and he rose from the dead 3 days later, and he's sitting at the right hand of the Father. And for everybody that asks that question, I just simply say, where's your faith? You know, if you, it's not, you know, because we're humans. We're taught to think. We're taught to question. And you can sit up there and say, well, how did somebody die and then they raised in 3 days?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the way he was able to do this because of the power of God. And it speaks unlimited, yeah, that's the word, unlimited power of God. That same God that raised Jesus from the dead is the same God that lives in us.
Great. Great. Absolutely great. How do you feel about people who have sex changes?
Wow. Ooh, that's a good one. I believe they should still be loved. I still believe that they shouldn't be ridiculed. I don't believe that they should be disowned. I don't believe in any of that, because all that stuff is un-Christ-like.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta love everybody, regardless of what you do, what you say, because guess what? We're all sinners, saved by grace. I got sin, you got sin, we all got sin. No sin is greater than the other. Mm-hmm. So I can't judge anybody because that's what they wanted to do, because they're trying to walk in their truth. They're trying to walk into who they are. And who am I to limit what they want to do? I mean, yeah, do you what makes you happy, but at the same time, I'm going to love you regardless of who you are. I may not get it, I may not understand it, and I frankly may not be trying to understand it, but at the end of the day, you are a human being. You cut both of us, we both will bleed. And at the end of the day, I want you to know that the same God that loves me is the same God that loves you.
So Alexis,
question
yeah, Alexis Siobhan Cherie said, "I'm not religious, but definitely a believer, though." So what's the?
Sure. So if it sounds like she's saying she believes in God and she may believe in Jesus, but she's not for the religious antics.
Yeah.
Which it goes back to what I started off with, saying that we got to make sure we have a relationship with God more so than anything. Because even going back to the whole Bible and the religious thing, the rules were so tough that people were walking away. Like there was so many rules that it made it difficult to follow. That's why Jesus
That's a
said,
big turn off.
Yeah.
Even today.
Yeah, even today, like, I never understood why women couldn't wear pants in church. Mm-hmm. And when I read the Leviticus text, I was like, Leviticus chapter 20, y'all should check it out. I said, this ain't got nothing to do with women wearing pants. Mm-hmm. This is just something that they took and they just created all these rules. Mm-hmm. So what it seems to me is like she believes, and she's just not for all of the religious antics and everything like that, because, you know, we are the church. Mm-hmm. God lives on the inside of us and so forth. And I don't know if they go to church and everything. And let me just say this right quick. I do believe it's important to still go to church, because that's how, as my granddaddy say, it's the filler station. Mm-hmm. You stop by to get filled up every now and then. And there's nothing wrong with being around other believers who believe like you, who want to live their life like you, and it helps strengthen you. Mm-hmm. So you can be a believer and not be all for that all religious stuff. And yeah, watch this, you can still go to church, because at the end of the day, you're in church because your relationship is this way, and it's not this way.
Antonio Reed, we're going to get to your comment, but while we're in the church house now, let's talk about tithing. What is the importance of tithing? People say, with the 10% and all that stuff. Do you break down tithing for us, please?
Sure. So you're talking about the Malachi text. I think it's Malachi chapter 3 when it says, "Bring your tithes to the storehouse, so that can be meat in my house." I do believe that as believers, it is our responsibility to give so that the church can be sufficient. Because at the end of the day, yes, God can miraculously do stuff, but let's go back to what I said earlier. God's like using humans to show His love and His power on the earth. And I do believe by giving to the church, you're able to do a lot of stuff for people that need. And here's what a lot of people don't know. As a pastor, it's a lot of stuff that happens. It's a lot of bills that get paid. It's a lot of stuff that people get looked at, a lot of groceries that get bought that you don't hear about. Because you don't want to put their business out there and everything like that. So it's a lot of stuff that happen that don't get exposed.
And I tell people that, I say, you can't make those judgments from the outside.
Yeah.
I say the church, just because you see people at the liquor store, you see people doing drugs right out, or the community may be bad, you don't know what the church is doing to pour into the community. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because I know that you pour into the community, into the youth. And my aunt, who's a pastor, she is right in the thick of Inglewood, and she's all about giving back to the youth. And you can't make that judgment from sitting on your couch.
No. And
you cannot do it.
That's funny to me. Everybody would say, well, the church should do more. Well, why don't you join the church and let the church help the church do more?
Antonio Reed is requiring a lot of your attention. So give, he mentioned the carpenter earlier. We'll go to that one.
All right, so hold on right quick. So about this whole giving thing. And this is what a lot of people don't know, and this is why pastors struggle a lot, is because a lot of times the pastor's the number one giver in the church. And everybody's not like the mega, as you know, mega church pastor, everything like that, when the average church pastor makes less than $100 a week. That's something that a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know that the pastor puts out more than he brings in or she brings in.
Most of them have a full-time job.
Full-time job.
Just like you.
I have a full-time job.
Right.
My church can't afford that, and I understand that. I'm in the Austin community. We're in Austin. I already know all this stuff. And I've just been blessed that my wife has a phenomenal job. I have a great job. We live very comfortably. And guess what? Not a dime came from anybody's church. Not a dime came from anybody's giving. We live a very comfortable life. And I think we got to get out of that mindset. And this is what I really believe, Goodwin, and I'm probably